The goal for standard 4.1.2.5 will be to compare and order decimals. On the next few slides, I'm going to show you two different ways that we'll practice at school comparing decimals. The first way we're going to look at is making each decimal have the same number of digits. When we look at this number, it has 3 digits in it. However, when we look at this number, it has 4 digits in it. So to make them have the same number of digits, we could easily just add a 0 at the end because that doesn't change the value of the number at all. And then we look at this one, and it only has 2 digits. So we can simply add a 0 at the end because that doesn't change the value of the digit, and a 0 at the beginning because that also does not change the value of the digit. Then when we move on to this one, it has already 4 digits for us to look at, and this one also has 4 digits for us to look at. Now we can take a look and see that one whole is going to be bigger than the other digits, telling us that those two are already going to be greater than the others. So we can just look at these two and compare the the 3 numbers after the decimal. And here we have 320, and if we compare 320 to 32, we can see that 320 is bigger. So looking at that, we can say 1 and 32 hundredths, and if you want to put the 0 at the end to make them the same size, that's fine, is greater than 1 and 32 thousandths. Again, because 32 is smaller than 320. Now we'll move on to look at our next digits. Here we have 360, 352, and 364. When we think about them as whole numbers like that, 360, 352, 364, we can see that 364 would be the next largest. I'll even cross off the ones we've used. And then we can see that 360 is greater than 352. So we'll write 360 thousandths. Cross that one off. And our last one left is 352 thousandths. So that's one way that we put them in order. The next way that we talk about ordering decimals is by lining them up, making sure the decimal is aligned in each of the numbers. So as we line up the numbers, like I said, be sure to focus on lining up the decimals so our place values also line up. Okay, so now that I have them all lined up, I'm going to take a look at each of the different place values. So when I start over, like reading a book, from left to right is how we go and look at our numbers. So our first digit is in the ones place. So I'm going to look at the 1, the 0 or nothing, 0, 0. Okay, so when I look at that and I'm looking for the greatest number, I can see that 1 is the greatest. So I have 2 numbers that are 1s. So I'm going to compare just these two because they both have a 1. Now I'm going to take a look at the next digit moving from left to right. So I'm going to compare now the 3 and the 0. I can see that the 3 is greater than the 0, meaning that 1 and 32 hundredths is the greatest. I'm going to cross that one off. Now I don't have to compare 1 and 32 thousandths to any of these other digits because these start with zeros. So I know that this one will be my next answer because that's the only other one that has one whole as an option. So I'll cross that one off. Now next I'm going to compare. Now this was a 0, and a 0, so they're all the same at that point. So now we move over and I have a 3, and a 3. Those are all the same, so now I need to move over one more spot to continue to compare them. So now I have a 6, a 5, and a 6. Well, now I have 2 6s that I'm comparing, so now we'll move over one more spot and compare just those two. There's a nothing there, or 0, and there's a 4. So when I look at that, 4 is greater than 0. So I'm going to write down 0, 364 thousandths. I'll cross that off. Now I'm not even going to compare again to the 352 thousandths because I said earlier that 6 is greater than 5, and I'm going to stick with this when I was comparing the 6's. I'm going to stick with that. So it's 36 hundredths is my next answer. And I can have my zeros before and after again if I want to, and cross that off. And now my only one I have left is 352 thousandths.